Greetings, traveler. Recently, a traveler named Denislav Petrov asked, why do game studios shadow drop games? As in, they release them without any sort of marketing campaign and barely any announcement. I was wondering the same at the beginning of my career in fact, even before that, when I saw this game that thought was really well made, it had really good quality, but it came into the scene completely unannounced. So I'll mention which game that was and what surprised me about it in the end. But basically, today what I want to do is give you 3 reasons why, in my experience, studios tend to shadow drop games and what's the reasoning behind them. If you don't know who I am, my name is Xanthos. I've been working in the games industry for about 15 years now. I've worked at games like Electronic Arts, Cygames, Tri-Ace. I've worked on titles like FIFA, Rage of Bahamut, Idol Master, and many others. And I was working on a FIFA title when the studio decided, instead of releasing it in its main territory that we were planning to release it in a completely different country and with no marketing at all. So that was my first hands-on experience of a project being essentially shadow dropped. And I had the opportunity there to talk with a few members of the leadership and find out what was the reasoning behind this choice. And basically the reasoning there was that they wanted to do a soft launch. And that's the first reason why a game might commonly want to release unannounced. So they wanted to perform the soft launch in another country, find out how it does there, make sure there's no huge bugs or huge problems with the game, and people can at least get on the game, play it, complete the objectives, get through the levels, get the rewards, and so on. And it functions in a real-world environment that is not the studio, so it's not just us playing it internally, and it's not released in the main territory that we were planning, risking possibly bad fame for the game and bad reviews, and we know how concerned developers are about those. So that's what the studio was trying to avoid. So that soft launch is basically a compelling enough reason for studios sometimes to release a game completely unannounced. Another reason, the second one, has to do entirely with marketing. So it's not uncommon for many big games to spend even half their budget, and sometimes even more than that, on marketing, which to us developers sounds like madness, but it makes a sort of sense if you think that, if you spend so much time and effort polishing a game and making it as good as possible, and you've spent millions of dollars on it, and you have a big team, then not doing an equal amount of effort to promote it and to make sure people know about it, it seems like it would be counterproductive. So if you put full effort into making the game, then perhaps you should put full effort into making the game known. And that brings us to the reason why some games come to the market without any announcement whatsoever. It just so happens that the development of the game itself sometimes goes so over schedule and so over budget that by the time the game is ready for release, there is no budget left for marketing. So perhaps the studio would like to have a proper campaign and run the social media things and have celebrity endorsement and all that, but anybody who's worked in basically any game project knows that towards the end, as a release is coming closer, there's a lot of overtime necessary to catch all the bugs and all the weird situations happening in the game. There's a lot of assets that need to be redone at the last minute because they cause a problem somewhere in the game, or there's things missing and they need to be added right at the last moment. Perhaps some extra software needs to be bought to save time, or some extra assets need to be outsourced because there's not enough time to create them in-house. So all these things are last-minute, high-expense situations that happen to the game. So depending on the size of the studio and the situation and so on, by the time the game is ready for release, perhaps there's literally no budget left for marketing or anything else for that reason. So that's the second reason why a game might be shadow dropped. And the third one is actually sort of a combination of the previous two, but it happens in a different way. So it can happen that a company that's big and wealthy and makes very big titles on a regular basis might still decide to release a game without any sort of marketing campaign. Now, why would that happen? Sometimes big companies like that have multiple products that are being developed in parallel. But because they know how big of a budget marketing requires, it might seem like a risky move to spend big on each of these products' releases, especially if they're releasing within the same year or within a couple of years of all of each other. So they might be inclined to release one game, see how it does based on, let's say, 1,000 people audience or 10,000 people audience, whatever the analytics of the game say that it got from organic views. And based on that, if let's say 500 people buy it, then that kind of gives them an estimate of how well the game is expected to do once, let's say, 1 million people see it or 10 million people see it through advertisement. Now, of course, when that many people see the game, the ratio of them that will actually buy it is going to be much lower than that initial test, but it still is representative enough to be worth the experiment. Now, is that fair to all projects, and is that how games should be released, with minimum budget for marketing or with no budget for marketing or without anyone knowing? That really depends. That's really not for me to say. But looking into this, I found this reason why a studio that technically has the budget for marketing chooses not to do it. And understanding what the priorities of a larger studio are like that, in my mind at least, just helps me navigate the path ahead. So as to the game that I saw for the first time and surprised me the most that it was so-called shadow dropped, was none other than the PS3 game Vanquish, or at least I saw it on the PS3 for the first time. So if you don't know Vanquish, it's in my eyes at least, a very polished, a very cool looking game. It's got this sci-fi action playstyle, and it's got great boss fights. I didn't get to finish it, but as much as I played, I had a really good impression of it. And I was surprised that my friend told me about it, and he asked me to give it a try on his PS3, but that was the first time I ever heard of this game before. And I mean, it's not like the PS3 is a small platform, but that was the first game that I saw that had, in my eyes, very good quality, but it came completely unannounced. And I thought, well, depending on the situation of the studio, even a big publisher or a big platform like that can have situations where a game comes on completely unannounced. Now, what was the real reason behind that? Perhaps one of you knows and can enlighten me as well. I'll be very much looking forward to hearing why. Anyway, that's it for today. I hope that sheds some light into the dark world of shadow dropping. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, have fun.